It's never too late, obviously. You know that. I know that. But I think you just have to pause and realize I have always done a simple exercise. I've counted the years I have left and think of how many more me's can I get in those years. So when I was 46 and sold my business, I thought I sold the golden goose, and I thought I would never, ever create another business again like that. I thought I had sold my best business. Not that I didn't want to, I wanted to. But then I realized I was the golden goose. You can create exactly what you want. I mean, I laid eggs again and again, and I reinvented myself over and over again. But I think the key there really is to believe that you really have to get good at trying. Because the minute you try, an opportunity is right there and you go, whoa, I didn't think of that. But it's when you're in that still position, or at least for me, when I'm in a still position, I could sit at my desk and try to invent an idea. Forget it. It's about moving on something, anything, just get yourself moving. And then the idea becomes itself. And by the way, about failing at stuff, which I find just stops a lot of people. They feel they've had 2 or 3 failures and, oh, I'm not going to do it. I just don't believe in that. I think they just didn't hang around long enough to see the flip side of failure, because all my good stuff happened after a big failure. It almost seemed like, for me, the bigger the failure I had, the bigger the upside. But I was dogged enough to just stay there and see there's got to be something here. There's got to be something. And I think just waiting around for the something to find it and believing there's something there. I don't think you're ever wrong. I think there's always something there and you could get something started again.
You said something that really caught my attention, which is you do this thing where you count the years you have left.
Yes, I do.
So do you have a number in mind for how long you're going to live?
Yeah, about 105.
Okay, 105. So let's just take that away as something you can grab from Barbara. You're going to live to 105. You've got that many years left. And
that's
love what
35 years.
How many me's can I pack into?
Probably about another 2. But they've got to be different. They've got to suit who I am at that juncture in my life.
Oh, I love that.
I could never build another real estate business with the energy it took, the people I had to hire, the financial stress I went through. I'm older now. I just can't handle that. It's got to be appropriate to who you are and true to yourself at that point in time, because your experience changes you. You're still the same Barbara, but you're slightly different, so it's got to fit you very well.
How do you know what fits you and what doesn't?
It feels right. I don't have a plan necessarily. I might have a vague plan, but I have confidence that I'll find something and that it will feel right when I see it. Like I did this last go around when I sold the Corcoran group. I tried cooking lessons. I was going to be a chef. I tried artistic lessons. I was going to be an artist. I have all those capabilities, but nothing felt right. I started a PR company for about 3 months. It didn't feel right. I threw that away. And the 4th one I landed on. I became an expert in real estate on the Today Show. And all of a sudden, I was getting work. And I said, hey, this feels right. Let me do it. I'm good at talking on TV. And off I went.
And that right there is an example of exactly what you just told us to do.
Mm-hmm.
You have to try. You're also known as one of the most accomplished investors and founders today. But what people don't know is how the story begins. And so what I want to do is go all the way back to growing up in New Jersey and talk about what life really looked like. I got a little photo for you of you and your siblings.
Oh, sure. I love this photo. That was my sister Ellen's idea. Thank God we posed for it.
Yeah.
You don't get those opportunities easily enough.
Talk about what life really looked like when you were growing up in New Jersey.
Well, I actually had a very happy childhood. I was very poor, but I was happy. My mother had 10 kids. My father was her 11th child. I think he was the hardest to manage of all of us. But it was crowded and it was competitive. I would say those 2 words come to mind always. Crowded, so you had to make do all the time and finesse all the time, and competitive. You had to compete for my mother and father's attention. We each got very little attention. It was doled out in tiny little pieces. And I really believe that's the reason I've needed a lot of attention my whole life, making up for that or something. But it was chaotic. But my mother had a great ability for systems. She had a system for everything in the household. And with her systems, we were always well-dressed. We were always had good meals. We always celebrated holidays. And we felt like we were the rich kids in town, really. But we weren't. But what a great upbringing I had, really.
So you grew up in a 2-bedroom flat with 10 siblings. How did that shape the way you approach life?
I was always competing for my mother's attention, so I got good at talking. I got good at entertaining the kids, entertaining my parents, and I was always wanted in the group. You know, you kind of had to be invited in. When you have 10 kids, you play with whoever you want. I was always one of the kids they wanted to play with because I was fun-loving, so I learned how to make fun. And I just carried that forth to my business. I think I was the most fun boss in the world, and that made a big difference. It made people love me.
Did having a ton of siblings and growing up in an environment that was crowded and competitive help you learn how to read people? Because I think one of the things that I've noticed about you, especially in your role as a judge on Shark Tank, is you seem to be an instant judge of good or bad character, or of a founder you want to invest in and somebody you don't.
You know, when we were kids, my mother was a great judge of people. She had a crazy thing she did. When she brought the kid home from Holy Name Hospital, she'd unwrap them and say, "Meet your brother Tommy. He's going to be a magnificent dancer." Wow, a dancer in the family. And she coined what everybody was going to be when they grew up. She was amazingly accurate. The reason she made that prediction about my brother was he had fat legs and he was kicking like hell. But he became a ballet dancer for Alvin Alley Dance Theater.
He did for Alvin Alley?
For me, she said, when I came home crying out of school, that Sister Stella Marie had told me I was stupid again. She said to me, "Don't worry about it. You have a wonderful imagination." And she announced that when I was born, and she put me in that role all the time. And she said, "With it, you'll fill in all the blanks." So I grew up really thinking I had the best imagination in the world. So judging people, I think we're all in our family great judges of people because my mother was. My mother could judge anyone from a mile away, and she was accurate. I remember when I was running my business, I hired bookkeepers to be salespeople to be bookkeepers, switch things around because I just envisioned them in a different role. I saw that capacity, and I had the empathy to walk in their shoes and understand them. And as a result of that, I really hired good people. I really think that was my secret, but I got it from my mother. I never had a mentor, but I had my mother.
You know, you told the story about that awful nun who said you were stupid.
The nun from hell.
The nun from hell. And what you didn't know at the time is that it wasn't that you couldn't read, it was that you had dyslexia.
Yeah.
And like
they didn't have a name for that. I don't think then.
They definitely didn't, because they really weren't talking about it much when I was in school, and I'm a couple decades younger than you, just a couple.
They had a special class or not?
They did, down the hall.
Ah.
Yes. But I found out that I had dyslexia late in life, just like you did, because our sons were being diagnosed.
Yes, that's usually when you find out.
So do you think being underestimated or having to figure out different ways to solve problems is part of what's made you successful?
I think dyslexia made me successful. I don't think I would have been successful without it. You know, a lot comes with being dyslexic. You look at the world differently. You interpret it differently. You over-prepare constantly, or I am. I'll prepare like 7 hours for a 1-hour speech. It's ridiculous. Do I know this stuff? Of course I do, but I'm so insecure because I never want to be called on again and not know the answer. You know, nothing's worse than being a dyslexic child and being judged by how well you could read or write. The worst thing for me was being asked to read out loud in front of the other kids. You're definitely looking stupid. But you know what it brings with you? A different way of thinking. I sat in that classroom 6 hours a day and just imagined things. I never paid attention. And it's right that today I could think of an idea a minute. I could just think of solutions really fast. That's a gift I got out of being dyslexic. I think also that with dyslexia, people underestimate you. So you don't read at the board meeting and they write you off because you're stumbling. But they don't know your imagination and what you're thinking about and how you express yourself with your mouth as a result of not being able to write. I mean, I got very good with my mouth. I got very funny.
You and I are so similar.
Really?
Yes. And if you can't do what's being asked of you, you find other ways to matter. You find other ways to express yourself. I mean, it's not, there's no way.
You get a bigger muscle somewhere else.
Yes. Do you think, it's interesting because I think a lot of people are afraid of being underestimated. But for you and me,
come on,
talk
you
to
know
me
better.
about what it means to be underestimated.
When I was building my business, the Corcoran Group in New York City, you have to appreciate that all the businesses are owned by men. All the people who worked for the businesses were well connected. I hired everybody that nobody else wanted. People wrote me off. They weren't watching me for like 10 years. None of the big boys watched me. I was the girl that wasn't going to do anything really spectacular. And I creeped up on them. They weren't watching. I bit their ass from behind. They never knew what was coming. I was able to try marketing ideas that they never thought of. I did business a different way. I was able to hire gay men. No one was hiring gay men, but what dedication I had from my gay salespeople. I hired everybody who did want to, but what a team we felt. And everybody was getting even, proving that they could be a somebody. And I was there to tell them they were better than they ever were. And they were really going to be a somebody. And guess what? Everybody did. Even a guy I hired as a concierge desk at the Pier Hotel became my secretary. And he later went on to run my arch rival and almost put me out of business. My God, I just had a gift for knowing what people would do well.
One of the things that I also love about you is I think there's very few people that could outwork me, but you might be one of them.
Oh, I could outwork you. No doubt. I've never met anyone who could work harder.
Yes, you work very, very hard. You work 22 jobs.